Welcome to the First to Last the Nerdom podcast, where we dive deep into the realms of horror and sci-fi and everything in between. Today, we're dissecting the bone-chilling new release LongLegs, from its spine-tingling plot twist to its haunting cinematography. Join us as we unravel the mysteries behind this latest addition to the horror genre. Grab your popcorn and brace yourself for a journey into the dark corners of cinema right here on the First to Last the Nerdom with me, Tom, and we got Mike here with us as well, as always.
Hey, hey, yo! I love it. I think we're getting down with the. We got a theme. We got a little. We got our thumbnail game down. We got our show game down. You're nailing the intros like you're murdering them. You're murdering them.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a satanic cult killing the, the intros.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we are going to. We're going to be going into. I guess July is just going to be our month, like where we're just going to go to the theaters and see movies, which is fine by me because.
We're deep into the summer movie craze.
Yeah, I mean, well, it kind of is fun to go in the summertime and see movies. But before we get too hardcore into that, I do want to do our bona fides here. I'm going to experiment with a little bit different layout here. But anyway, what are these guys? What are we doing here? We are the First to Last Nerdom, as Tom said in that awesome intro. We do horror, the sci-fi, the deep cuts, the thing. We are definitely turning out into become definite fans of different directors and actors out there for sure, writers as well. And we find us at our home base here on YouTube. We would love it if you could like, comment, subscribe, join us in our journey through week by week, where we find some new things, some old things. But or if you prefer to find us on Reddit, Tom heads up our Reddit division there with us on Reddit. He always makes sure to let anybody who's willing to let us post our nerdom, our fan fun. It's only fun if more people get into it. So
it's like some people don't like free advertising. Even the channels that are by the company, like the A24 one, I did a little post for Maxine, and they deleted it because it wasn't in the their official stream.
right.
Little discussion thread for it. I was like, okay, yeah, just let it get buried. Yeah,
we didn't make the cut.
yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll make our own cuts. The way things are going, I think people are more apt to. I don't know why this thing's going out goofy. Apologize. But anyway, yeah. So find us there on Reddit if you're a Reddit, a person. Also heading up on X, you can find at McAllister_T, the First to Last Nerdom. He runs our side gig there. So I haven't gotten too many conversations. I think I do. I think I do what you do, which is more follow and listen, and kind of do that than whatever. But we're out there. And then lastly, I'll do mine, and then we can get going into the big event.
Yeah.
You can find me on ApeIt.Ink, ApeIt.Ink. A little bit more of the heavier side of life, current events, that sort of thing. All the other movie reviews that don't really kind of roll in or fit in with our main gig here. And just to be clear, the First to Last Nerdom is more lighthearted, and it's just more kind of fun. And it's just about me and Tom kind of doing this journey together. Also available on with the ApeIt_Ink moniker on the thing. Also the Yats, where you can find all of me and Tom's comings and goings online, perhaps. But anyway, what's this gem? Dare I say gem? I don't know if you would call it a diamond or ruby or sapphire. It's definitely shiny, and it is definitely a precious element. I would say for horror films. And I am a newer fan. What are you? I'm dying to hear what you have to say about this one.
Oh yeah,
Um,
it's the new latest horror flick from Oz Perkins, which if you don't know, he's the son of Anthony Perkins. So he's got a little bit of I guess dynasty there, and yeah, it's his third horror movie, well, no, fourth horror movie. And I've seen two out of the or three out of the four now.
okay.
I didn't realize a few years back he did Hansel or yeah Greta and Hansel or Hansel and Gretel whatever it's called, which I need to see.
Mhm.
It's one of the ones he didn't write himself. This one is written and directed by him. One of my other favorites, I dug it out. Maybe we'll talk about it or do a future show on it. The Blackcoat's Daughter,
Mm,
which has one of the stars of this does a little cameo in LongLegs, which we might get into. But yeah,
sure.
it's one of those FBI agent looking for serial killers. The basic storyline. You've heard it before with Silence of the Lambs, but this is a
Mhm.
interesting take on the whole procedural FBI procedural serial killer thing. It's a little supernatural, a little elements of that in there,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's very stylized. Which most of his Perkins' stuff I've seen it has been very much stylized and has a very much a look and a feel to it that's uniquely his own. It's a little slower paced than a lot of the mainstream movies, but I like it. I like
No,
it.
I really dug this. I'll just kind of start from the, I guess, from the outside, going in. Cinematography was really good, on point. I really liked. This guy has uh, a very good feel for how long to keep a shot going, and then to transition to the next one. The long lingering shot of the doorway, and things like that to kind of set the atmosphere are done
Hmm.
perfectly. The atmospheric, the tension building and the atmosphere alone, and as well as the little small hints and cues that you're in the 90s, work very well for me. I'm kind of a sucker for that time period, I guess. For whether it's the X Files, or even True Detective, has been in that time frame, that decade, something like that.
Yeah.
It might have been I can't remember what. I think the third season was probably a good shoe in for the 90s. I can't remember if it's the 80s, but anyway, it definitely sets the tone. And I we'll get to the other part of it, I guess. But for the most part, things that work very well for me for this film, and I did end up liking it quite a bit.
Hmm.
And we are also no strangers to Nick Cage. We are definitely Nick Cage stans. I think in our
Hmm.
own right, just between us and the little kind of talk that we've had. But we did cover
Hmm.
Mandy, on our Uncaged show, probably about not quite a year ago, but I will never forget that movie. What was it, the best ever? No, but is it memorable? Absolutely. I don't know about you.
Another stylized horror movie in a very much
Absolutely.
different direction, more kind of a
Completely different.
hyperkinetic sort of um, kind of testosterone fueled movie. But yeah, so this one's a little bit more sedate. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I thought about last week we did a new movie, Maxine, which is very much of the '80s with the kind of the glitz and glamours of the '80s and
Which that nailed
the
down
yeah.
very well too.
With the underside of the grease and grime, but and so then we this week we jump into the '90s, which I guess it kind of has a little bit of a '90s theme if you kind of think grunge. There's kind of a dark, sort of somber, sort of it would a lot of visuals wouldn't be out of place in a dark Nirvana song, but yeah, this is I was very much put in the mood by the quote by T Rex, and then
Mm.
there's a lot of T Rex's music in it. Mark Bolan, who I became obsessed with. I think last decade, I was a very much I got into T Rex's music, and that was all I would listen to for a while there. So the fact that the serial killer sort of kind of surrounded himself in that music with the T Rex posters on the wall and Lou Reed and different
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
It was very much and it ends with a the T Rex's biggest song, Bega Gong, Get It On,
Yeah.
and it starts with some lyrics from that as well. Yeah, it really kind of pumped me up. It was like, oh yeah, this guy knows music. So yeah, and yeah, the it doesn't have a whole lot of music in it, but where it is, it's very effective. Um, it seems like yeah, and then this is another one of those movies set in the '90s, but I think I guess this is the most meme worthy '90s thing is the Bill Clinton
Oh, picture.
picture on the
God
wall.
bless America. I love. Well, obviously that. I mean, that is such. That thing's been so iconic. And I probably remember it so well because of course, during the '90s, Conan O'Brien was just coming into his own, and he had that. He kind of did the lip thing picture, early version of that, but you could see that picture everywhere, like in the background of like '90s movies, which
Hmm.
I love it. I'm not quite sure why it was so big in that dude's office, but or the head
Yeah.
agent's office, the agent in charge, his office, Blair Underwood, his office. Um,
Hmm.
I believe he plays good grief. What's his character name? I forget.
Carter.
Carter. Yeah, yeah. Agent Carter. Yeah.
Agent Carter.
Agent Carter. Yeah. But yeah, no, Agent Carter, and you are introduced to this thing very quickly. It doesn't
Hmm.
take. I mean, I could see like where if somebody was impatient, they would think that this was slow, but to me, it worked out really fine.
Hmm.
I really this was again the pacing was very well. Get to the end part, we'll get into that. Probably a little bit later on. I don't know if
Hmm.
we'll probably get into spoiler territory, but we'll red flash it ahead
Yeah,
before
we'll
before
save it for the end. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in any case, like you're like jumped in right away. They don't waste any time.
Hmm.
And I thought it was going to be maybe harder to get into from the start, but that wasn't true. And it went along right just fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
It also played with very much like Maxine played with the video elements. Like there's a
that's
lot of
true. Yeah.
scenes with videotapes and whatnot. And in this movie, when it kind of did kind of flashbacks, it kind of went to the 4:3 aspect ratio, sort of the classic box look of televisions back in the day.
Yep.
Um,
4x3
yeah, 4:3. Yep, and yeah.
slide projector. Yeah, yeah, it had
Exactly.
like a multimodal media thing going on there with like the slide projector thing.
Hmm.
I was kind of confused a little bit at one particular scene, and it was right at the very beginning. This isn't no spoiler territory at all, but you're like you kind of see like what's her name? Hold on, let me grab her name, her character name here real quick, so I don't sound like a dummy. Harker, of course, because they said it every 5 seconds during the movie.
Lee Harker, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you saw her name be talked about or written down like ad nauseum in the movie. But you she like opening scene, right? Then you jump ahead, and then she's got sitting down in that rigged room, whatever, like classroom, empty, pretty empty classroom with a projector, and they were asking her psychologically, "Hey, what's the first word that comes to your mind?" and guess a number. I what was that?
Well,
I don't
it.
I don't understand what the hell that was. What was going on there? Like, help me out.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's they're the beginning of the movie. Well, the very beginning is sort of a flashback that you don't know who it is exactly, maybe. But yeah, you get a little touch of the serial killer in that beginning moment. But yeah, then they go to yeah, Lee Harker as FBI agent, and they're getting paired up. They're looking for another killer, and they've I guess they've kind of coordinated it down to different neighborhoods or whatever, and they're having the agents go door to door, and they say, well, the guy may be violent, whatever. Um, her other guy, the main the guy she's with, goes out to start knocking doors, and you can tell she's kind of off put, and she's looking around,
This,
and
yeah.
she gets a prescient, maybe a Paul Atreides sort of a
Mhm.
vibe of no, it's he's in this house, and her fellow agent's like, all right, I'll humor you, and it turns out, yeah, that's the house. We won't spoil anything, but yeah, that's the house, and but that whole thing was they're testing her psychic abilities
Okay.
or her
I,
prescience
yeah,
ability.
I guess like I guess I kind of knew that, but like I just kind of I figured that out. It would be, but and they don't really spend. It's not really important to the thing. I mean, I guess it kind of sets the precedent, but really
Uh-huh.
after that, you had the long legs initial scene where you
Mm-hmm.
see, from her perspective, from a 9-year-old girl's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
from kind of her height level up, which was excellently done,
Mm-hmm.
and creepy as hell. Great way to do it. Also, the building the suspense up and down and up and down also worked very well.
Yeah.
And then you get to that point, and then XYZ happens, and then it's like, oh crap, she's got she can obviously got some she's got some kind of intuition or
Mm-hmm.
ESP thing going on, and it's kind of accepted, and then they don't spend too much time, and then they move on, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. So
I
they
like
get
that. I
it.
do
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. So they kind of test her, and they realize, okay, well, she's got a little touch of something extra, and this
Yeah.
case has a little touch of something extra. Kind of weird case. So yeah, maybe be a good pair up between the two. Agent Carter it has a good idea that yeah, she may be good for the case, which which turns out to be. And yeah, we won't go too into spoilers. We're sounding like a dead record now, but or dead. But yeah, the Agent Carter, that scene where she's going through a name association
Right.
with objects.
That's what it is. Name
It's
association. Yeah.
if you go back and go back to that and listen, indicative of what happens later on. There's hints
Yeah, I
and
did.
signs to. Well,
Yeah,
we might go a little bit more in depth in that later, but yeah.
yeah. Well, this isn't going to spoil anything. But I did catch that. I caught
Mm-hmm.
because you said mother, father,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's what I recall. I don't recall
Yep.
everything. Oh, and the other thing too is this movie is broken down into three acts, or three
Mm-hmm.
parts rather. Act one is the Horn family, Act two is Mrs. Camera, and then three is finally Ruby Carter. That's what I got from the internet. I hope I kind of
Uh,
remember that, but
no, chapter one was. I remember chapter one. It was the letter, because
okay.
there's a letter that she gets in that.
All right.
But yeah,
I got bad
I
data,
forget.
so completely forget goddamn AI. No, you're right. You're right. But there's still three, but whatever. Like
Yeah,
all
there is chapters. Yeah, it's nicely broken up into three acts, three chapters. But yeah, yeah, the oh yeah, there's
Jesus
um
Christ.
yeah, she's given the names, and the image for the father is that she associated father with was interesting. I'll say that. But yeah, it's very much in that liminal spaces. We talked about it with the back rooms. There's that
Yeah.
the thing where there's empty spaces can be very off-putting and
Hmm.
creepy. And that's
There's a
what the
lot of those.
liminal, yeah, that's what the liminal space is about. And this movie, I think Skinamarink, that movie that we reviewed, try to take advantage of that. Maybe I think this movie did it much more effectively, much more successfully, and it really added to the movie
I
the dread and the
I don't
lingering.
even I don't even think it was trying to be honest with you. I
Hmm.
think it just naturally happened like that because I see where you're going. Like
Hmm.
it was a to me I didn't get grab that like you did, but now like looking
Hmm.
back and thinking about it, you're
Hmm.
100% right. The other thing too that it was like a fusion of that and supernatural, and then you
Hmm.
had the one that I love, which I adored in this film
Hmm.
was the psyche sphere, the psychological thriller kind of you
Hmm.
know what is real, what is not real, like
Right.
can I trust or even like from the perspective of the character, can I really believe and trust what I'm seeing? Not necessarily you, the audience member, but from her perspective, it really
Right.
pulls you in.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the fact that that Lee Harker is a little bizarre. She's not the average.
Eccentric.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Eccentric. Not the average
Oddity.
main character. Yeah. I 90s those movies where the main character's got a happy family life, and it just I don't know, I have harder time relating to the happy life of a character as opposed to maybe a character that's a little has a little something off to them.
Right.
I tend to gravitate towards them and want to know more about them, and this really plays into that. This character is, yeah, she doesn't say a whole lot. She's very reserved and very observant. She's very much,
Freakishly so.
yeah, yeah. She's almost childlike in that, and maybe she's a little stunted. Um,
A little bit.
in that and so you get that sense of there's something off about her, and that it's probably tied to the mystery, but what is it? You know, it's a very refreshing. And there's a scene where the agent Carter takes her over to his family, and there's like the very awkward scene where she's sitting with Agent Carter's daughter in her daughter's room, and it's very awkward, but it plays very successfully. There's like a instant kind of connection between the two. That's
Uh,
a lot of it's left unsaid. Is more or less sort of physical, just I guess in body language and
Well,
whatnot.
I think they did a very good job, and this is why I
Hmm.
say they built the atmosphere very well, because like that is I took that it's just pure innocence, that you
Yeah.
see, and you see it over and over again. And I mean, I'm not a prude by any stretch of the I don't get grossed out by all
Hmm.
that much, but like if they would have curved a little bit harder on some of the things, like where you see a lot of, you don't see like over the top gore. That's not this kind of film.
Yeah.
But when the blood splatters, it does splatter. And so
Hmm.
they don't hold back from that standpoint. So it's not a slasher or a gore fest.
Yeah.
And you kind of see them after the cut anyway,
Hmm.
pun intended. But more importantly, with that part though, you really see it from an FBI agent or a cop, law enforcement's perspective, from photos and like kind of flashbacks or narrations of kind of the scene. And like I mean, the like case in point, what I have on the screen now is pretty much indicative of that. It doesn't hold back from
Yeah.
that. But it doesn't do it to a point to like where it does it just enough. Let's put it that way, I think.
Yeah. And other movies are in its DNA, like out getting Silence of the Lamb vibes, but it also
Mm.
has a little bit of Seven in it, Zodiac,
Uh-huh.
that they those sort of serial killer movies that have sort of that in its DNA, but it takes it in a maybe tonally it's similar, but it takes it into different directions to the point where it never feels like it's trying to ape those movies. It's very much of its own nature. It's it's telling a story uniquely its own. I did watch our friends, although they don't know we're friends with them. Red Letter Media. They did a
They cover it.
they covered it as well. They covered actually two Nicolas Cage movies. They covered Longlegs and another horror movie, Arcadian, which I think is a little bit smaller budget movie. That that I guess only those two have seen, because I've never heard of that one. But they we're talking about long legs, and they enjoyed it as well. I forget where I was going with that. I'll have to circle back.
Yeah, no, I think the pacing was very well. Like I said, I'm kind of a sucker for this genre anyway, or this period of
Hmm.
time for whatever reason. Because because I've been fed so many good storylines where it's X-Files, like I said, or True Detective, or variations, permutations on that. It works very well, and you can't help but like whether it's like she's a nerd. That's what
Mhm.
Lee Harker is. She is a nerd. She
Mhm.
is a so I kind of got that sympathy going on the screen, you
Yeah,
know.
she fits well on those old '90s pantsuits and
Absolutely, yeah.
those outfits back in the '90s.
Yeah,
She's just got.
you can and when you go and see her life a little, you get a little bit of a peek into her life a little bit, like of
Mhm.
you can extrapolate from what you see, but like you can see a
Mhm.
very like and they're in Oregon too, which is also prominently featured throughout the well, at least every time you
Yeah.
whatever. So it's like kind of like a weird, you know,
Mhm.
spot anyway, but excuse me. You get such a good feeling of like of who she is,
Mhm.
and her kind of like palatable discomfort or not even not so much anxiety, but like kind of like you see her talking to her mom on the phone, you kind of see this sheltered individual, for sure, but
Mhm.
even though she's sheltered, and she does come across in some um social situations. Another time, she's like, she is like the hard boiled cop, uh, sometimes too, because it's just eerie. And they don't wait long. Like there's a scene like where they kind of show like the aftermath of a crime scene, and the crime scene had been like that for a month, so you can imagine, right? And you can see like, and Agent Carter, who's in charge with her, is like, "Hey, are you gonna be okay?" Like he's the whatever, like she's
Mhm.
gonna have the problem, and he's the one that ends up walking out of the door. Like, okay, I've seen enough of this, I'm good, and she's just like, you know, practically eating a sandwich. You know what I mean? Like, I'm joking, but like, you can see that she is comfortable in her own skin,
Yeah.
also pun intended, in this
Mhm.
world, in this environment, which
Yeah.
is it kind of when you start to think about it and you see like where the movie goes and what's going on, you kind of
Mhm.
see this this woman, this girl who grew up to be,
Mhm.
a woman and kind of broke the plan a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and the actress in it that plays Lee Harker, Maika Monroe, she did a phenomenal job. I didn't know. I kind of looked to see what she was in previously. I wasn't sure if I'd seen something, and she's in It Follows. She does such a great job. I didn't even notice that
Mm,
she was from It Follows. That I'd seen that movie and quite enjoyed it. But yeah, you could tell that she can. She's a great actress in that she could become different people and really live in the part. Which I think a lot of the characters that are actors in this movie kind of live the part. Blair Underwood, I knew I'd seen him in something before, but I didn't recognize him either. Very much, very much into the character, and Nicolas Cage. We won't talk about him much until spoilers because he's
right,
such a kind of they kind of savor him. They've kept him away from the publicity of it because you need that little shock of seeing him for the first time in this movie to
right.
really get the impact. You don't want to lessen that by seeing anything prior to that. But Nicolas Cage really lives in this role along with a lot of people. And I know, Mike, you've been watching a lot of Mad Men. You might have noticed
Yeah,
Kieran
Kieran Shipka.
Shipka. Yeah, she was also in Black Coat's daughter, and she was very effective in the one scene that she's in.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I totally got that. I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh my god." Like it's so funny
Hmm.
how that plays out sometimes. But no,
Hmm.
she played a very minor part, but played it very well. It worked very I mean, the creep factor was like
Yep.
off the like I feel like if they I d I do kind of feel like maybe and we'll see if there's like a director's cut or extended cut, which I doubt. I don't know how it has to make money for that to happen, but I would be curious to
Which it
see
which
like
it has.
Yeah. I would be curious to see if they do something special like that, like to see if there was like maybe another 15 minutes that we're missing.
Mm-hmm.
That would maybe kind of sew up kind of some of the things that I have with it. But
Yep.
aside from that, like maybe 15 minutes to 20, 30, pushing it really, that's really pushing it. But
Mm-hmm.
it would have been nice to kind of had a little bit more because it kind of begs for like more. Um, I think what we got worked, but I feel like there was kind of missing a little bit more context, like the background, like because you're from the get go, you're on the inside of the problem, seeing all the results from it, and it kind of gets a little it kind of gets a little skippy there at the end, but
Yeah.
but we'll if we get there, we get there. If not, whatever. But this was worth the watch. It was worth the admission.
Well, I think it's I think that it was intentional for the skippiness towards the end because the main character Lee Harker, she kind of becomes disoriented, and I think that's
Okay.
sort of we're in her kind of
Okay.
mindset. So yeah, the fact that we're missing pieces or catching up along with her. That's very much intended. So yeah, it would be nice to get a little bit more. But yeah, this is another movie that's a hour and 41 minutes.
Hmm.
Very effective. You don't
No,
need to
it
be
did, it did,
you don't
it
need to
did
be a
good.
3 hour movie
No,
to tell a story. This is sort of gets in and gets out and tells a great story. Also, Alicia Witt is in this as well. She's
plays the
great.
mom.
She's got her Dune connection. She was in the original 1984 version of Dune, but I
That's true.
always always enjoy seeing her. She plays the mother of Lee Harker.
She plays her very well too.
Very well. Yes, there's a lot of people talking about her. I think one of the things that Red Letter Media spotlighted is, I guess maybe it's not hitting with the younger audience on IMDb. They're complaining about how slow paced everything was, and how
I see.
slow
I
and boring it was.
I didn't get that at all with this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I did, I really didn't, and I'm pretty sensitive to like if a damn movie's too long. Matter of fact, because of that, like Batman, there's no way I could sit for 3 hours and watch the last Batman. It's not going to happen. It just wouldn't happen. But the way that I watched it was, I think, actually made it better because, well, for one, I controlled it like in the comfort of my own home.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still where I think you actually watched it over two sittings. But I think sometimes it is good to take
No,
a break
I
and do
meant
that.
to split it up. I ended up watching the whole thing, but maybe
Oh,
why
okay,
that
okay,
was
yeah,
why I was not as enamored with it as you were. but
yeah, probably, yeah, I think so.
but yeah, Long Legs is one of those movies. I didn't think it was slow at all. It's
No,
you got it's all about mood and whether or not you want to kind of fall into the movie.
right.
When I mean fall into, you gotta accept its world. And yeah, I was digging what it was giving me and was eating it all up. There's those long shots. Like we were talking about earlier with the cinematography, there's a lot of shots that kind of linger, and it's begging you to you're looking, since it's a horror movie, you're kind of amped up. You're looking for those jump scares or the things to come out of the corner, and the director's always teasing you with that. He doesn't always deliver on it,
Mm.
but there's that kind of chilling sort of darkness to it. And he puts a little bit of things in there, kind of play around with it at one point. Um, the uh, the clock. Someone pointed out. I didn't notice it. That all of the arms of the clock are pointed at the six.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that like 6:30 was like I saw the clock a couple.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what particular scene, but like towards the end
Mm-hmm.
when it's, I guess, toward the climax or second to the last climax, I guess, would be
Mm-hmm.
when Harper's in there, and then she sees she's like walking through her mom's house, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave it there. But I noticed, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stuff they dropped. And
Mm-hmm.
truth be told, I will buy this movie for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Um, I physical media if I can, but
Mm-hmm.
up more than likely I'll be lazy and I'll just buy it off of my streaming whatever of choice, or aka my long-term multi-year rental of it, I should say, because you don't own shit when it comes to digital. Um, and that is what it is. But anyway, aside from my harping, I want to see this on my big screen, and like really,
Mm-hmm.
really get in, because I feel like there's so many things that they roll through pretty quickly. So slow, I did not
Mm-hmm.
get at all. I disagree with that
Yeah,
assessment.
and I this is one of those movies I wanted to see in the theater, mainly because I didn't want spoilers. I knew that
Mhm.
there was something
Yeah.
about Nicolas Cage. Everybody was kind of teasing about it, and I think there's already things that are kind of spoiling it. I
Mhm.
did see an image. One of the guys that I watched for physical media, he um, he actually showed a little a picture that showed Nicolas Cage character from the chin down, and I was kind of upset because I didn't want to see anything of him until that, and so that kind of put me off. But it was one of those movies where I knew that the longer I waited to see it, the more stuff that was going to be leaked and shown on physical or social media that would spoil it for me. So it's one of those I had to go see, and yeah, I I know you enjoy the
Oh
act of
God, I
going
do.
to the
Yeah.
theater and stuff, but I don't. I would prefer to seeing this at home on my TV. Now I this movie doubled in the audience. There was
Mm.
actually me in the movie, so it wasn't. The crowd thing wasn't an issue for me, but I hate commercials. I hate the
I know.
setting through all that crap at the beginning of the movie. And since this is the second horror movie I've seen in 2 weeks, a lot of those trailers that they showed were the exact same crap they showed last week. And
Mhm.
those movies that I thought, well, that could be interesting to see. This week was like, nope, I definitely don't want to see this movie. So it's not doing them any service with
Yeah,
me anyway.
it's funny because I did not see, and I guess it's just your geographical location and your theater chain, I
Hmm.
suppose. But
Yeah.
I actually, you know what? I made notes of some of the movies. Again, um, I still believe it. Many probably will disagree with me, but that's okay. If the previews are good, that usually, eh, from what I've heard, my experience, it portends that the movie you're going to see is good, or good enough anyway. But um, I not scientific, but I did make notes of some of the ones that I did see, that I wanted to. The Hugh Grant one, which we talked about offline, I can't remember
Yep.
it. That's
Heretic. Yep.
yeah, the Heretic, the A24 thing, flick that. I'm there for sure. Cuckoo, it was another one that had
Yeah,
no
they
clue
showed that
about.
one too. Yeah, that
No,
was
but
interesting.
that one I wrote down must see. So we'll see. But
Yeah, they also showed Speak No Evil, which they showed both times, and has James McAvoy. Evidently,
oh,
it's about this uh, creepy couple that another family come to stay with, and they're wacky and evil, but and then also the Alexa is evil movie Afraid, about evil AI, showed previews to that, and oh boy, yeah, gave me kind of those Megan vibes, but
interesting.
and they also showed the M Night Shyamalan Ding Dong movie. But yeah, we'll see.
I he's redeemed himself quite a bit, so I will always be probably not to the heights of like one of my all time favorites was the with Joaquin Phoenix, and Mel Gibson, that one, the God, can't remember, it didn't matter, but anyway, yeah, yeah, that's one thing. You know what? We're far enough in the show. Well, we'll talk. This isn't really a spoiler, but talking about what Nick Cage does in this film, he does a great one. He does a great job.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Just so you know, it's best to see the movie without knowing
nothing.
anything.
Right.
But yeah, so if you hadn't seen it, Definitely recommend
Long
between the
Tom.
two of us. But yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The point I wanted to make was like, does he not look like Mickey Rourke? I mean, nowadays, like current day Mickey Rourke, like what he's obviously had a little bit of surgery, but and then they made him like they made that like prosthetics on purpose, but like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gave me like creepy, like a grotesque, twisted version of Mickey Rourke. Did
Yeah,
you
yeah.
get that at all?
I got more Joker vibes,
Okay, nice.
which you know, with his performance, it worked for me. Although one of the things Red Letter Media said is they kind of would have preferred someone else in it because
Mm,
when he did a great job of not being Nicolas Cage in it, but at times he kind of bled through and you could see Nicolas Cage and it kind of throws you out. You're kind of like, oh, that's Nicolas Cage,
I
where they could have. Yeah, I could see
I
that
did
point.
I can see it, but it didn't occur to me, or it didn't happen with me. I'll
It
say
it
that.
happened with me a little bit, but yeah, it was still a great performance, and he did an amazing job. I think one of the things that someone said this about Nicolas Cage and his acting, and it kind of stuck with me, and I think I believe it's true, but I have no clue whether or not it is. But they say that you know how every performance of Nicolas Cage is a little bit different, and there's some really bad performances that he puts off, and then there's some like exceptionally amazing performances that Nicolas Cage gives you, and they think it's all to do with the director. They think if the director doesn't know what they're doing and don't know how to kind of rein in Nicolas Cage and kind of get a performance out of him,
Mm,
then he just kind of goes loose. You know, he
mm,
just goes you know does whatever he wants to,
mm.
and that's not always a good thing. But if a director knows what they're doing and can kind of hone in and kind of
Guide him.
psych and guide up Nicolas Cage to get a great performance, then yeah, it's sort of like Nicolas Cage is kind of like into something, and if you do it well, you get a great performance. Otherwise, it just kind of kind of explodes and goes all over the place.
Yeah, I think he did fine. And speaking of Kieran Shipka, that's her on the
Hmm.
screen there. Yeah,
Yep.
I didn't have any qualms with him. I actually think there's a lot less like obvious like this is Nick Cage than
Hmm.
probably any other movie that I've seen with him in a while.
Hmm.
I have heard he did one. I know we talked about it. We just didn't get to see it. Or maybe it's coming out, the Nosferatu or whatever. Like there's like,
Nosferatu. Yep.
yep, isn't he in that one, right?
Is
Or am I
he?
thinking a different one?
I
Maybe I'm
know
thinking a
what
different
I know. Willem Dafoe's in that. Now he's in that other one, other vampire movie as Dracula.
one. Okay, yeah. That
Yeah,
it's a vampire one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get this thing freaks you out quite a bit. Like from
Yeah, one of the things that Red Letter Media kind of dinged it on was the plot, which is true. It doesn't have the strongest plot in the world,
well,
but
we'll get
yeah,
to that
if
in a minute. Yeah.
yeah, if you kind of pace it out, it's you could kind of which I did. I kind of picked up on what it was laying down and kind of figured out the big reveal towards the end. But yeah, it's but I don't think that's what the movie was. That's even though it's that's one of the things that was unique about this movie because a lot of those serial killer movies, the plot is so heavy and the tracking down of the serial killer is so overwhelming that it kind of bunches up the story and kind of that it becomes just the plot. Whereas this movie was more about the atmosphere and the look and the feel and there was times, and people are saying this is less of a horror movie and more of a thriller, which I don't really get. I get more of a horror vibe to it, just because that's the thing that it's in the casing of a thriller, but it's delving into those horrific
It's
aspects of it, and kind
it's
of
horror.
amplifying. Yeah, it's
It no doubt is
mhm,
horror. I understand what they're talking about thriller, but no, this has more of a horror DNA, and the
mhm.
thriller part to me is actually small, and it was more of the psychological. psyche sphere than
Hmm.
a straight up thriller. I mean,
Yeah.
because I will. Well, I'll just get to kind of the caboose here a little bit. I was not happy with the ending. I know why they did it because they're
Hmm.
obviously, and I'm not
Oh,
quite
I
sure.
loved I loved the ending.
Did you really? Yeah. See,
Oh yeah.
I, it didn't. I don't know. Like maybe I would need to see it again. Not anytime soon, like in the theater. Although if I have a few extra bucks and I have time, I might. But to me that part like it kind of begs for a sequel, which did not make me happy. I don't know, like unless they can do this again, but I kind of like, I mean, were you left with more questions than answers, I guess? Did you understand the mechanics of how this thing operated? And we're not going to get in, you don't have to give a spoilery answer, but like, did it what actually, you know what, let me roll that back, and what worked for you for the ending? How did that work out for you, I guess, or where you coming from?
Well, it had the same tone and feeling of the other of the whole movie. It wasn't something that jumped out of nowhere and sort of
Mm,
took a left turn. It all made sense in the movie, and it kind of played out. You hadn't seen what that element of the movie, how that played out with all the with everything, all the parts kind of tied together, and how it all acted out in real time. You kind of see it at the end there without getting too far into spoilers. But yeah, it's no, it had a very dark and grim end to it, and yeah, I didn't get too much into the headspace of the mechanics of it because I was more into the emotional drive of it and
okay.
how that was playing out with the character. It held true for the character. There wasn't like I wasn't expecting a happy, joyful ending, so
Mm,
so it kind of played out kind of how I thought, and also it was kind of unique. It's usually by that point in the movie, you're getting into the resolution and that the happy vibes of everything's over,
mm.
and no, it it kind of gives you the feeling that like with your sequel idea, that evil doesn't die, that lingers and continues on.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get that. I guess. I don't know. Like, I guess I wasn't. I mean, it wrapped. Well, I won't say if it wrapped it up or not, but like, I think they left the door open for a little bit more, which is fun, I guess. But I guess
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't think I don't think they're planning on a sequel, but yeah, it just
I, I mean,
but I like the aspect of there being something more. I like horror that that maybe doesn't quite, that doesn't have the happy ending, or that gives you the sense that this evil is still there. I guess it's more of that the feeling of the feeling of overwhelming dread that it
yeah.
continues, that you can't wrap it up in a nice little bow. That you
No, no,
can't put,
no.
once you take Satan out of the box, he
I
doesn't go back in willingly.
Yeah. No, no, no. I wasn't looking for like a happy ending or like even a conclusion. Really, what I was looking for was like more of like that's how that works. What? Like, I mean, you get, and the thing is that they do the supernatural with this so well. They really do. Um, they do it with the kind of the setup, and I won't go into details, but I get that part. But like, I guess I was just expecting a little bit more push into the like, because you're flirting with this supernatural thing all movie, and you even
Mhm.
get little winks of it too that cannot be possible. But for a deep, from my friend of a friend, the downstairs friend,
Mr. Downstairs, you
yeah,
could
Mr.
call him.
Downstairs, yeah, that's right, yeah, Mr. Downstairs, right. So I get that, but like I kind of just wish that they just would have got it, kind of just pushed a little bit harder so that we would firmly be like, maybe end the movie with like something like a little bit more, open the kimono just a bit, just a scooch more. because like the way that it wrapped up, it was like, okay. I mean, I guess I just wish it would have finished a little bit
Well,
like
to touch
stronger
on,
on a question mark or something like that.
well, I think it kind of mirrors another movie that I hadn't heard anyone else mention, which we watched a few months back, Rosemary's Baby. It's kind of has that sort of that feeling as well. That there's definitely seems to be a supernatural element to it, but yeah, it almost becomes sort of there's yeah, I think I get what you were going for. You're looking for more of a kind of a grand gulag sort
Well,
of a little bit more kind of supernatural explosion maybe,
well,
but
sometimes sometimes movies like this where they really work well for me is like where they kick your legs out from underneath you, like where they make you question like, everything that you've seen up to this point, and you're like, what the hell? Like maybe that's when they really screw with you. But like I guess I was kind of like I really wanted my legs kicked out from underneath me, and for me it just didn't end that way, and that's okay. It's fine, I suppose, but, like, I guess I just wanted a little bit more push into the, um, one way or another, that but, you know, who knows? Who knows? Second, I think when I get like this, though, too, I know that if I wanna rewatch it, and I'll probably do that by other means before unless I can buy it early for maybe 25 bucks. I don't mind doing that. I did that with Civil War. And I did that with Dune Part 2 as well. So I will absolutely buy it as soon as it, 2 or 3 months if it comes out and I can buy it, I'll absolutely get it. I'll have to revisit the ending, but I see where you're coming from too. Like, and I can see like where this is a whole unit. It still works for me. I still like it a lot.
yeah.
What you don't get good quality like this all that often. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, there's yeah, it's well put together movie. It only cost I was reading it only cost 10 million to make. Half of that was Nicolas Cage's salary. But but yeah, 10 million, and they only spent like 7 million to promote it. And it made 21 million in its opening weekend, so it's already starting to pay off for it. So anything
This
else is profit.
Yeah, this is where Hollywood needs to go more and more and more. Very
Yep.
tight, concentrated thing. Maybe you spend a little bit more money on the, on the actor. That's fine.
Yep.
Now that I hear that, maybe I'm a little bit more sympathetic to Red Letter Media talking about Nick Cage, because you probably could have had quite a few individuals come in and do this role. Maybe, well, for sure, a little bit better than Nick. And there's
Yep.
nothing wrong with Nick.
Yeah, and one of
He did,
them. Yeah.
to me, he did a perfectly. He
Yeah.
executed perfectly. I did not. I wasn't taken out of it at all. But I could understand. But
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Jay from Red Letter Media suggested that Crispin Glover could have been an amazing choice for this. Which, yeah,
nice.
that he would have been quite interesting. Yeah, they said that the director said that his choice was either between Nicolas Cage or Brad Pitt. He thought
Hmm.
either one of them would have been exceptional. Which, Brad Pitt would have been an interesting choice, but a well put together choice as well. Yeah, just to kind of get into a little bit with the. I liked all the elements of this movie. To get a little bit more spoilery, the satanic aspect of it was
Mm.
well done. I
Very
liked
well done.
I liked, it could have been over the top. Where I think this movie, with its pacing and mood, it just sort of, as it introduced elements of the movie into it, um, very effective. It's kind of subtly kind of brought in Satan, and it subtly kind of brought in the shock of the dolls and stuff. There's all these tropes that are um, that are intuitive, that are with horror movies, that are overdone, and can be kind of like really, and they bring them in, and they give them the chills that they deserve. Like the satanic aspect, it kind of really creeps you out, and then when it introduces the doll, the doll's so well done and so well constructed that it's not something to laugh at. It's very creepy, and the aspect of that ball that's inside it, that kind of
Hmm.
metal ball that resonates and makes sounds. It gives you it's almost kind of David Lynchian, sort of the practicality but the dark aspect of it, and how it kind of works.
It does work.
It's very silly, and if it had been done in a a well done movie, and Red Letter Media point this out as well. You know, these elements of this movie, if done by a lesser director, say like a Brett Ratner, it could have been really very silly and over the top and just be a mess.
Mm.
Whereas with the hands of this director and how he kind of crafts
He
it, it really plays off very well.
he brings it in. There is no kitschiness. There is no campiness. It is very
Hmm.
serious. It does that very well. It handles that part. Yeah, and it really strikes at the heart
Yeah.
of like everyday kind of
Hmm.
horror in
Yeah.
some ways.
Yeah, and I know you liked it being set in the 90s. I did too, mainly because I don't really care for modern movies where they have to take in like computers, all this other stuff. There's something very cool about going to the library and going through books. There's that tactile feel of kind of digging through a book, whereas less so with a guy, in front of a computer screen. It's just
Oh, that was back in the day, like where if you were planning, I have fond memories of this taking road trips. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure a lot of people out there who can hear my voice, I can see us had this experience. You had Rand McNally's, you had to plan, you had to read a
Mhm.
map, you had to, it brings you back to another era
Yeah,
of
definitely.
time. And anytime I can see Bill Clinton on that classic,
Hmm.
poster or picture, that also was kind of a good
Yep.
kick
Yeah,
for
no,
me.
another benefit of this movie, anytime I see that picture now, I'll think of LongLegs. So, shout
I
out to Perkins for doing that for us.
Yeah, it reminds me of that because like in every federal building, in every armory, in every whatever, there are always like usually in the hallway, like when you walk into the building,
Hmm.
somewhere up on the thing, they all have this. All federal buildings have this. They always the president, but they have the whole friggin', whatever.
Hmm.
People relevant to that part of the whatever. Like so, it I've been in those buildings many a time
Hmm.
from being in the military and all that. So it kind of just like adds to the layer of it is a little weird when it starts to creep in and you're like, how big is that damn picture? Like, you must really like Bill Clinton. Like, but aside from all joking aside, this works very well. I just wish the ending were a little bit. I don't know what I wish for the ending. I really, I just wish I would have been the Satanic Panic thing. Like that was excellently done. The whole
Hmm.
weaving in and out of it, like totally not afraid to creep you the frick. I mean, it didn't. I mean, it creeped me out psychologically a little bit, but
Hmm.
like not physically. Like I'm not really one that like really startles or scares or kind of.
Yeah.
About the only thing I do is like that was like when and I one scene, and I think you know what I'm talking about. Back in Maxine, there's only one
Hmm.
scene that kind of caused me to like, okay, all right, I'm good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. With a movie like Maxine, it's sort of I find those movies just fun, enjoyable. But yeah, this movie, it's very much a horror movie in that. Also, I there's a couple of scenes in it where I kind of get the chills. I know it's a really good horror movie if and that's effective if I get the hair on the back of my
mhm. Yep,
neck kind of stands up a little bit.
yep.
And yeah, this did it a couple of times. It's
Did a
very
good job with it.
effective. Yeah, yeah, and there's so many elements that I love about it. There's the introduction of Lee Harker's mother. We can get a little bit spoilery here in that she's introduced over the phone, which works effectively because she seems like a very normal mother,
Mhm.
very loving. Although there is some static on the phone that kind of loops back to other things in the movie. with Static, but
Little
so
hint
it's
of
sort of a
things to
hint,
come.
yeah. But she's a very seemed like a very loving mother, and there's even though it's kind of an odd relationship, even on the phone, you get the sense that they care very much for each other. So, and then they introduce the mother later on, and you kind of get kind of creepy vibes from her. From that, but you already are kind of endeared to her over the phone, so you are a little bit more resistant to maybe jump to some conclusions that are
Yeah.
later going to be revealed that are going to kind of put
You
things on its head.
they do a very, very good job of bearing that. It only becomes weirder towards the end, like where you're supposed to see that anyway, or put two and two together
Right? Yeah.
if you want to type to like guess who done it or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not really a film like that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Mike, have you been saying your prayers?
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll do that. I'll have a yeah, but you hell if you wouldn't be creeped out if you found a 3 foot or 4 foot friggin' doll that looks exactly like you. That is just naturally creepy anyway. That and clowns, like those are classic kind of things that like take something that is, somewhat beloved, like a toy, like a doll, and then turn it into this thing. But in such a creepy analog way too. And you had like the friggin' Etsy product review morgue guy or whatever, or whatever the hell that guy was, like the technician
Yeah.
who was like he was the friggin' he might be like, don't leave this dude around dead bodies, maybe.
Right.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, the yeah, morticians and are a little little weird or forensic guys. Yeah, kind of plays into the whole kind of them being kind of creepy. But yeah, it's the whole movie on so many different levels. Very effective. Yeah, I'm looking forward to anything Oz Perkins does in the future. He seems like he takes his time between movies. There's several years in between each. I don't know if that's by design or if he doesn't get offered much. But yeah, this is done by Neon. It very much looks like a A24 movie, but it's not.
No,
It
it
just
has
shows you, yeah, it shows
different
you that,
sensibilities and
yeah.
fingerprints. It feels different than an A24 flick.
But yeah, it's great that different movie companies out there are dabbling into what A24 and Blumhouse has figured out. Doing kind of these cheap, well done horror movies actually pays off quite well, even if they're not these box office juggernauts. And if they become a juggernaut, even better. But yeah, it's just sort of like make it 20 million and making a profit. That's cool.
Yeah, I did do on my research here. It mentioned some things like viral marketing. I didn't. I wish I would have seen that before. I wish I would have been a beneficiary to that, but I didn't see anything until actually I think you mentioned it or you pulled it out. But anyway, I had seen it on a list of movies upcoming, but I didn't see any marketing for it, which makes me sad because apparently they did some kind of a viral marketing like they did like with Blair Witch. I didn't see any of that. Maybe you did. I don't
Yeah,
know.
there's like a I was seeing on IMDb they were talking about this phone number you could call, and
Oh,
if
that's
you called before it came out, you got a one message from Nicolas Cage, and then now if you call it, you get him singing "Happy Birthday" to you. So
oh God,
there you
he
go.
does that so good too. Man. The creep, the ick factor, oh God, he does that so well. I'll say that for
Hmm.
sure. Like he nails it perfectly. Like
Yeah,
it works very well. But yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's
uh,
hard to say what's going to become a classic, but I think this is very much a contender
it's gonna
for a
be fun.
classic horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's maybe I'd say Oz's best horror movie so far. Although, yeah, like I said, I haven't seen Hansel and Gretel, but yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, all of his movies have a definite feel to them. Very much atmospheric. So if you like Longlegs, definitely check out his previous movies as well. The Red Letter Media kind of had fun with his other movies that I think he was an actor in. There was one called Quibi or something where where it's what's his name, Gary Busey playing a human dog or something,
Oh God.
and and Oz Perkins plays opposite him, I think, as an actor.
Quigley.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he was also in Legally Blonde, which another movie I hadn't seen, but
Yeah.
yep.
I've definitely seen that for sure.
But yeah, definitely. Oz Perkins is one of those auteurs where if I find out he's involved in the movie, I'm instantly interested, and that was the case with Longlegs. I think they previewed it before Mad Max or the Furiosa that I saw, and I hadn't heard about it either. And then when I saw that and I heard Oz Perkins, I was like, "Yep, okay, yep, sounds
Yeah.
like something I need to see."
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think I was hooked when you were like, "Hey, let's continue doing this movie thing." I saw the trailer too, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, it looks great." Plus FBI, it hit all the buzz things that
hmm
make my ping meter go ping.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, it's I like it because one of the things I love about the movie is that yeah, there's so many like common elements of other movies in it, but it does it in such a new and interesting way. Very much its own movie that yeah, it makes it all fresh again. One of the things we all kind of a creature of habit and want to see movies that are similar to the ones that we've seen before, but then we complain about them, saying, "Oh, but it's all the
new
same
things.
though." Yeah, so
I
this
love those new things. Yeah.
I want new things, but I want to go see the things that are similar. But yeah, so this does a wonderful job of kind of taking everything that's similar to you but puts it on its head. And I think a lot of people are complaining are kind of saying, "Oh, but I wanted the old thing." So yeah, but yeah, this gives you something new, and I quite enjoyed it. Yeah, it's one of the yeah, so far I think this and Furiosa has been two favorites.
Yeah, I think Maxine was a different kind of satisfaction for me. It was
hmm
satisfying, but this
hmm
one, I agree with that. Yeah, the other thing too. Oh, I was going to ask you. You went pretty early in the day.
hmm
I hit it up a little bit more afternoonish. But there were probably like the back. I was in the very back row, and then there were one, two, three, like probably three or four deep they were pretty much 80% full, both
Oh wow.
like four rows. And this was not a big theater anyway. It was like one of
hmm
the smaller ones, but still.
hmm
I was surprised at how many people were there at the
hmm
showtime. So kudos to that, because they're gonna go out and say, "Hey, go check this out." And there's
Yeah.
it's a good vibe. It's a good vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
One
worth
of
the
the,
price of admission.
yeah. Evidently, Red Letter Media, those guys, they're sort of in my boat. They were talking about how they would have rather have seen it at home, but they were talking about how the audience was very respective. There wasn't a lot of a lot of noise or whatnot. But I forget. Mike was complaining about the chairs in the
The
theater. They were,
theater.
I guess, they were kind of leather, and if you move around it, it makes you sound like you're farting. So
Oh,
he said he's kind of a fidgety guy, and he kept having to stand real or set real still because it was like during the movie, which I didn't. Yeah, the theater I went to was probably mid-size. It wasn't
mm.
small, but it wasn't one of their giant theaters. So, and it was nicely upholstered, so you didn't feel like you were making any noise.
Yeah, they it was good. It was nice. I think I had a better movie going experience seeing Furiosa. It just one of those rare things that clicks. This one wasn't too far behind. And Maxine, of course, was like it was just his own fun.
One of the this movie, yeah, a lot of the movies I like to do research on. There's not. This is a brand new movie. There's not a whole lot of information about it. But one of the cool things I read about it was that they waited and didn't show the lead actress that plays Lee Harker. She didn't see Nicolas Cage until she walked in for the first time to do the scene
Hmm,
with him. So her reaction sort of like, and they also put like a heart monitor and sound to her heart
really?
to see how how elevated her heart goes, and I think it went from 70 to 170, and they use her heartbeat sound within the movie and also in the trailer as some of the sound mix. So it's kind of I like the fact that Oz Perkins is sound and how sound affects the mood of things, and I guess the one beneficial thing of seeing it in the theater is the great surround sound, and you got to hear all the little sounds all around you, and they kind of complained about the movie being really low, but I think the sound. I guess they had the sound up enough for me because I didn't have any problem with
Yeah,
that. The
not at
other movie that I had problems with the sound was Furiosa. That it seems like all the action was very loud, but the
all.
talking scenes were kind of low. So I
I w-
wasn't real keen on that sound mix.
yeah, when I was my personal theater I went to when we saw that one was the it was almost a touch right below. It would be too much, like where you're like, can you guys please turn this down so I can
Yeah.
feel my thoughts in my
Hmm.
head, maybe. But all joking aside, yeah, I think we're coming up. I really don't want to spoil anything because it's so new. But I the only thing that didn't work for me quite all that well was the ending. But it's not bad at all. It makes sense. I guess I wanted more, which is a good thing to have,
You
I guess.
wanted the ground to open up and Mr. Downstairs to come up and say, "Hey guys."
Well, there's many ways, and the way that they did it worked for me for sure. I don't know what. I mean, I'm not Oz Goodman. I would suck at making this, so I'll keep my criticisms to myself a little bit. But it doesn't off-putting though for me to not watch it again. Everything else worked about it. It's just that 95% worked for me. It's just that last 5% was like kind of
Mhm.
a shoulder shrug a little
I think
bit
I think
for
if
me.
they had pushed it a little bit, it was one of those movies that at times it kind of got to the point where it could have went over the edge and not worked, but it kind of played that edge, but also it had a very much kind of a dreamlike quality to the whole movie. There's
Hmm.
always that sense of the maybe the characters are just about to wake up, but
Just
not
waking up.
quite.
I
Yeah,
got that feeling a
there
few times.
yeah there's sort of like that vibe through the whole movie, and it kind of plays out to the end, and it's very very effective. But yeah, I really enjoyed the feel of it. It's uh, it kind of it gave me the sense of those serial killer movies, but it also mixed in well with the atmosphere of a Lynch movie without too much of the bizarre. It was very much all of the bizarre is kind of rooted into reality,
It's
but
very
there's
well
that
grounded for
yeah
what it does.
yeah, but there's that super natural element to it. But a lot of times people kind of took the David Lynch vibe of it, where everything's kind of practical. There's sort of a supernatural element, but everything's like practical, like that. And that metal ball in the head is sort of. It seems like that would be something David Lynch would use within the context of things, where all the mechanics don't make sense in reality, but the movie so it has such much atmosphere and sort of dreamlike feel to it that it all kind of flows and you don't question it all just kind of makes sense within the world of it. But if you actually kind of woke up and start trying to pull the pieces apart, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it works very well for the
Hmm.
most part. Like I don't know. I can't. I'd have to watch it again and maybe it'd fit a little bit better.
Hmm.
But it's still a good joyride. The atmosphere, the
Hmm.
nails the timing on the creep, on the jump, on the whatever. Like at some point, if you are any kind of a classic horror person to like jump scare, it'll get you at some
Hmm.
point for sure. Um,
Yeah, and it makes you wanting more.
exactly,
You want to know more
exactly.
about you want to know more about LongLegs. You want to know more about her mother. You want to see the future adventures of Lee Harker and
You do, you
how
do.
things kind of pan out. Although very satisfying movie. I don't want any sequels or anything.
No, I don't. That's why
But
that's
yeah.
why I wasn't happy with Like, okay, I know what you're doing. But
No,
that's okay.
I don't think they're planning on it. Yeah, I don't think they're. Yeah, I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't think.
No,
I think it's a one and done kind of thing.
yeah, I think it'd have to be like a 5x or a 6x or 8x gross kind of type film for them to warrant, like continuing this as a franchise or whatever. But not going to happen. I hope. But or if
No,
it does,
if it was going to be a franchise, they wouldn't have did what they did with Mister Longlegs.
right on. That's true. That's true. But that kind of just like adds the to the thing to the nature of it. But like but in any case, I think do you have anything else to add aside
No,
from go see it?
no, yeah, just see it.
Agreed. Yeah, I think we're coming up here. I will.
Pull out. They'll make you pull out your old T Rex albums and put on. I love that they had the Slider album cover behind him at one point. That's yep, that is my favorite album of T Rex. So check it out.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and that'll be in the show notes too. The that's yeah, I was pulling that up for our last thing. Go check out our review of Mandy Uncaged, the other Nick Cage flick that we did. Completely different movie than this one, in its own right. Stands on its own. We are the First to Last Nerdom. You can find us on YouTube at home, also on Reddit. Tom heads that up, as well as Long Tom. Long Tom is also in charge of our Reddit, our Twitter, X. I'm on ApeIt.Ink. Also on Twitter, ApeIt_Ink. And you can find us all there on the Yats. It'll be in the show notes. I think we're coming up to the end of this one.
Yep. Yeah. This is fit perfectly in this guy that I think it's the same guy that had the theory on Nicolas Cage and directors, but he also has a summer of Cage where he gets together with a bunch of friends and they watch every weekend during the summer they watch a different Cage movie. This would be great for the rotation for that. Yeah, we may want to do like a summer of Cage. It's like every movie that they watch is something different. You know, you could go the whole range of the Cage spectrum.
No, that would be awesome, and it wouldn't have to just be summer. It could be another time too. But and look out for this fall, winter. We'll be entertaining another genre mix in the nerddom, which would be like noir, which is one that I talked to Tom and I'm like, hey, what do you think? He said sure. So we'll look forward to that in a few months. And God knows we're gonna have some. We got to have some kind of entertainment going on with all the things that are going on around in the world today. But with that being said, I think you're gonna play us out here.
Yep, none of us are faking cancer, so.
Ooh, 3 out.